Hello and welcome to Prodigal Son Crypto. Tonight I'm going to be looking through some charts, Bitcoin, altcoins, DXY, Bitcoin dominance, various other charts to just see where we are in the market at the moment. Um, we're still floating around that 84k zone, trying to break through. And will we break through, or are we going to start breaking down, heading down lower again? We're going to sort of get into that tonight. We've got some news stories to run through, some on-chain charts, just looking at everything from technicals, fundamentals, all things crypto. So this is one of my first videos. So I'm still finding my way with things, but hopefully you can join me for the ride and we can go on this journey together. But like I say, so tonight the sort of feel for this video is it's not pre-planned, it's not pre-scripted or anything like that. I'm just literally going to go off the cuff. I've put some news stories aside. I've got some charts put aside, and we'll just work our way through it and just see what we can discuss. So sometimes, apologies for this short silences, but like I say, it's completely unscripted, and we're just going to roll with it. Yeah. So if you are tuning in, if you can hit the like button, subscribe, that'd be much appreciated. Helping this new channel get started. So yeah, so we're looking at Bitcoin first. When banana zone, everyone's calling. Well, this chart is a chart I made, which just shows the 12-week lags of the global M2. If you've heard about global M2, it's the total money supply of the world globally. Yeah, so a lot of it is built up from US M2. Then you've got China M2 and other nations, Euro M2, and it all puts them all together. And you can see basically the increase in global liquidity or the decrease in global liquidity when it comes. So this chart here basically shows how a 12-week lag forms. Okay, so over here on the 6th of January, that's when global M2 bottomed on that little correction it had. And then so 12 weeks later would take you to 31st of March. And it price has gone up since then, but M2 is obviously still making new highs. So hopefully Bitcoin can catch up over the next 12 weeks, and this will be proven right. I mean, if you've watched anything of Raoul Pal, the Journeyman, or Real Vision, or Julian Bittle, they talk about this a lot. And I mean, it's played out before. I mean, look at this. So let's go back to the 17th of October. Yeah. So 17th of October. Yeah. You've got, 17th of October 2022, that is. Yeah. So you've got M2 bottoming out there. 12 weeks later, Bitcoin breaks out. Okay. Let's go over to November 2023. Yeah. M2 had bottomed out, and Bitcoin 12 weeks later was already on a tear, but it carried on a lot higher. Yeah. Then go to June 2024. Yeah. M2 had bottomed. 12 weeks later, Bitcoin had bottomed, was moving up. Yeah. Now we get into the more recent case. Yeah. Like I said, 6th of January. Yeah. Global M2 was bottoming out. Around 12 weeks later, sure I had that as the 5th of 7th of April or something the other day, because it was almost timed it perfectly with the death cross as well. So if I take the EMAs off and then put the death cross on, sorry, and I want to go on to the daily. Don't forget, always go on the daily. Yeah, the death cross pulled the low around then as well. Yeah, the wick was precise on that day. So yeah. So you've got M2 and you've got the death cross calling a low. Yeah. Then I'd like to bring your attention to a couple of other things. Let's get the M2 out of the way for a minute. Okay, give us a bit more room on the chart. Zoom out. Okay. many people were talking about this inverse head and shoulders pattern on the big macro chart. Yeah, so you've got shoulder 1, you've got the head, and you've got shoulder 2. Yeah, breakout, retest, and it's retested that almost perfectly. Yeah, I mean, look, it went almost to the line, it dropped through the line, and look what's sitting there as well, the 50-week EMA. Um, Bitcoin held the 50-week EMA there when that was back in late 24. You know, it sort of went under it here, but held it. October 2023, and when price can hold around the 50 and give confidence to investors that or traders that it's holding, um, it can be quite a strong indicator. The 50-week EMA. It's just as kind of 200 and everything else like that. I mean, look, if you go back before, in the previous cycle, the 200 getting support there a couple of times. You can go back to, I mean, the 50. I mean, look, back in 2017, it was just riding along above the 50, well above it. In fact, it was actually using the 13-week a lot, dipping below it, but just riding it all the way. So what do I think about Bitcoin right now? Well, like I say, I'd be impressed, or I'd be more confident once we see a solid breakout and a weekly close out of this trend line. Yeah. Let's put on the daily so you can see a bit closer again. Yeah. So, wick, 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 wick. And then it's starting to wick through it. It's starting to show that it wants to pop. But, could I just see that coming back down here, forming another low, or giving it another go again? Absolutely, absolutely. So yeah, let's jump into some of the other stories and news for this evening. So this is one I noticed earlier. I don't know if you've heard about this. Don't know if you've been impacted by this at all. But Binance, KuCoin, and other crypto firms are hit by Amazon Web Service issue. Binance opened withdrawals just over 5 minutes after the issue was first reported. Users are still reportedly facing issues placing trades on both Binance and KuCoin, ex post show. What to know? So Binance and KuCoin temporarily suspended withdrawals due to issues with their data center provider, Amazon Web Services, AWS. Binance resumed the withdrawal shortly after the issue was reported, but users still face trading issues. Other services like Rabby and Debunk also reported outages linked to AWS. Well, I can't say I've even heard of Rabby or Debunk, have you? So, yeah, I mean, this can happen. Probably scares a lot of investors, but they've opened back up again. They've opened back up withdrawals. It is always a bit like, is this what crypto is all about? You've got your money on a centralized exchange, and they're pretty much just like a bank, just like your high street bank. Yeah, if they get concern of a run on the bank or a run on the exchange because of a system issue or a fundamental issue or a news story, they will just shut off the withdrawals. So, and I know you have to use these things. There's on ramps and off ramps, but try and keep your money on a hardware wallet. That's my strongest advice. Use a ledger, and you've got your own funds safe. You've got not your keys, not your coins, as they say. So, look after your crypto. And just try and if you're going to use an exchange, just use it to on ramp, off ramp, do some spot buying or selling, and then just get your funds moved off. That's my biggest advice. So this is a chart here from Titan of Crypto. Recommend you follow him. The LMACD is showing a clear shift in momentum, while price action is displaying strength on the weekly chart. So what he's trying to say is if you notice that here on the red pattern, where it's dark red, yeah. Then it went pink, yeah, and then as it turns green, you've got the rally. Same here, although this was quite choppy. And he's not saying that this can't be quite choppy, but when you get to this sort of stage, these patterns usually tend to say that you've reached a peak low of the move. Yeah, you're not expecting much more downside. You're expecting the trend to change. Yeah, and the trend is your friend until the end. Next up. Oh, sorry, I've saved too many tabs based on that issue. Let's get rid of a couple of them then. Okay, this was an interesting story. So, Canada to launch the world's first spot Solana ETF with staking this week, apparently. So, let's go and have a look at that then quickly. So, Canada has outpaced the US with the launch of staking-enabled spot Solana ETFs as interest globally continues to build. Now, I've heard a lot that institutions really love to get some yield on these crypto investments. They want to know that can they yield a return. Obviously, they've got the gains from the trade of buying something low, selling something high. But if they want to hold something and hold it for a long time, to get some yield on it, it's like derivative paying stocks. It's just a passive income. They can buy enough of this stuff and get some of the yields on cryptos, the staking rewards on cryptos. Sometimes them percentages are phenomenal. Way better than you could ever get in TradFi. So you can understand their interest there. So Canada plans to launch a number of spot Solana exchange traded ETFs with staking capabilities on Wednesday, according to Bloomberg senior ETF analyst Eric Balchunas. In a post on X, Balchunas cited a circular from Toronto Dominion Bank stating that the Ontario Securities Commission, OSC, which oversees the Toronto Stock Exchange, has approved 4 asset managers to list the new products. The OSC today gave the go-ahead to ETF issuers, including Purpose, Evolve, CI, 3iQ, to list the world's first spot Solana ETFs in Canada. Now, none of those companies I've heard of, to be honest. They're not like the ones doing what they're doing in America. Like Grayscale, Vanguard, BlackRock. The VanEck, all of these companies. They're not listed up there to my knowledge. So what is this? Is this Canada trying to, because you got Trump there saying, we're going to make America the crypto capital of the world and all of this, which hopefully does. But then you've got Canada stepping in and trying to get ahead of the curve with some things, So, all soon to be launched, Solana will invest in long-term holdings of Solana in physical form, but will track different indices, it continues. The new Solana ETFs will engage in staking activities to earn rewards, which may provide higher yields than Ether staking and reduce overall ETF holdings costs. That's another thing as well. If you're getting yield, then because of it costs to hold an ETF, it costs percentages, yeah? So to be yielding a return from holding the underlying asset, then that pays for the cost. It becomes self-sufficient. It becomes a very lucrative investment. Moving on, Bitcoin hash rate hits a new all-time high. I have been tracking this because I'm a member of Into the Cryptoverse. So love that platform that Ben Cow and his team put together. Absolutely excellent. I recommend it. It's only around, I think it's like $40 a month, and you get access to so many more charts. If you're, I mean, I love TradingView. I'm on there all the time. I'm using it for watching my charts day to day. But you can get some really insightful charts on Into the Cryptoverse. I really recommend it. So, hash rate's just been flying non-stop, but particularly since 2021, 2022, that's banana zone. So, I mean, how long does that keep up? I don't know. But this just shows a very healthy Bitcoin network. Yeah. A network that's growing. Yeah. A network that's strong. So, have no fear. Bitcoin's always here, you know? So, got this little video here where Scott Besson is you know, telling us who he thinks should be the next chairman of the Federal Reserve. So let's see if we can listen to that now.
When it comes to the Fed chair, his term is up May 2026. So we're almost 12 months out from that. When are you going to start to think about, have these discussions with the president about who should lead the Fed?
Well, we think about it all the time. I think when are we going to start the interviewing candidates? And that'll be sometime in the fall.
In the fall, so about 6 months lead time.
Yep.
The U.S. Supreme Court recently came out with a ruling that the executive branch, the president for now, could oust top officials at independent agencies. And that has some individuals in the market a little bit concerned about what this could mean for the independence of the Fed, which is really a cherished pillar of wanting to invest in America. Do you have any concern about potentially President Trump ousting Fed Chair Jay Powell or the independence of the Fed?
Well, and Marie, I've repeatedly said the Fed has two duties. And I believe that monetary policy is a jewel box that's got to be preserved. And then they have regulatory policies. And I think we can have more of a discussion because the Fed is one among three bank regulators. And there's the Fed, controller of the currency, and the FDIC. So I think it's very easy to delineate between those two.
So at the moment, no concern?
No concern.
When you talk to Fed Chair Jay Powell, at the moment, it doesn't sound like they. When it comes to the Fed.
Now, Scott Besson, I don't know if you've done your homework on him at all, but obviously, is the Treasury Secretary for the US for Donald Trump. And if you look back at his history, he has been in the macro investment fund game for like 30 odd years. Yeah. He knows what he's doing. He understands macro. He's been studying the actions of the Fed the best part of his life. And from him being a macro investor, you can tell he really wants to see good, solid markets in the US. I'm sure it'll be lining his own pocket, lining the pockets of his friends, and he wants to see bullish conditions. So. And I believe they know exactly what they were doing with the tariffs. Now, you could say it went a bit wayward with China. That's fair to say. But they knew that they were going to shock the world with this and hopefully calm down the markets, bring down inflation. And they seem to have done the trick. You know, we're at peak fear. We've had peak fear in recent weeks. In the past week, in fact. And I mean, now, as soon as the market was panicking, and the big news day, the day of the Liberation Day, when the tariffs came into effect, you know, Trump then all of a sudden says, you know, he's not doing this, he's not doing that, and he's going to suspend the tariffs for 90 days, which then calmed the markets. The markets then started to recover. Now, I believe we're going to get we got a lower inflation reading the other day, and I believe the next one's going to be lower. But I've got a feeling that, whether you call it insider trading or not, Trump knows he's controlling the markets by his actions, and I believe he needs to get the market to do certain things to bring certain reactions, such as, you know, a Fed pivot where they, you know, really start to continue cutting rates, and you know, then that could happen. Moving on. I'm not going to watch another video because I'm not sure if the sound came out on the last one, so we'll skip the videos today till I've got this worked out. I'm still working on my setup. Just bear with me. I'll get there. The main point of me doing YouTube is that, you know, I've got a big passion for crypto. I'm investing myself, and we'll talk about my portfolio at some point. But yeah, I'm just very keen to understand just not only what's going on in the markets on a trading perspective, on a macro investing perspective, but also I'm fundamentally interested in crypto. Like I'll just briefly mention that, yeah, some of my biggest holdings are Solana, Sui, Cardano, and I'm heavily invested in, certain protocols on the Ethereum ecosystem. And I'm invested in a lot of different projects, and this is my passion. So yeah, I'm looking forward to sharing it more with you as we go along. And like I say, if you're just tuning in and you wouldn't mind clicking like, subscribe, I'd really appreciate that. So this one, Bitcoin apparent demand shows a positive turn after an extended period in a negative territory. BTC's 30-day apparent demand is turning up. Let's have a look at this. So what he's trying to say is, see sometimes where you get these periods where even over here, this small one, yeah. So it's been red, it's been down, it started working its way up, then price follows, yeah. This one been down a lot, yeah, yeah, and then went up, and then price started moving up there, but then it just fell down. But you've got to know where you are in the cycle with these sort of things. So bearing in mind this is the final year of it's a post-election year, it's a post-halving year of a 4-year cycle. And even if you're just relating that to Bitcoin, that's the final year of the Bitcoin cycle, which usually is when we've seen the gains, whether it's 2013, 2017, 2021, 2025, here we are now. And yeah, so if you look at something like this, where you compare yourself to where it is, I mean, it's actually more like something over here, yeah? Or is it like something like here, where it goes on to make new highs? But what you're trying to say is the apparent demand is changing. It's starting to work its way back up again, which means we could be in bullish conditions before long. So here's another story. So if we come and get this in dark mode, can we? Very bright on your eyes. Anyway, Trump's SEC is ending crypto's lawsuits and investigations. These are the biggest. So this story just highlights some of the biggest investigations that the SEC have dropped, because you must have seen they've been dropping them. They've been dropping these cases left, right, and centre. Yeah. So I'm just going to break down some of the list of them. Where are we? So we had Binance, yeah, following a joint request, a US district judge granted Binance a 60-day pause on its ongoing legal battle with the SEC, allowing both parties an opportunity to reassess shifting regulatory landscape. The stay is in effect until April the 14th, which is this week, which will be, it's the 12th today, tomorrow's the 13th, so it's Thursday. Okay, that'll be interesting. And this states the stay was granted, and the SEC has ended many other investigations and lawsuits, which may hint at what's to expect from the Binance resolution. I believe it's going to get dropped. I believe the SEC, since it's changed hands to Paul Atkins, and out of the slimy hands of Gary Gensler, things have changed. Things have moved on, and they're trying to give the crypto industry a clean slate, so because it's got the room to breathe and to manifest success and do some great things. And America want to keep the crypto industry on shore. Obviously, Coinbase, we had the lawsuit there, and that was dismissed in February. And we've got OpenSea. OpenSea's had their case dropped. That was right. Robinhood. I mean, I don't know if you're all aware how many cases they had against crypto companies. I wonder if even some of them that I've heard of. Uniswap are there, obviously, as well. Has that been dropped yet? Uniswap. Well, in February, yeah, they said it had ended its investigation into the organisation without filing any charges. So dropped, yeah. Gemini, yeah, that was dropped. Justin Sun, Tron, yeah. Consensus, Kraken. The list is huge. Yuga Labs, famous for Bored Ape Yacht Club. Horizon Labs, not too sure who they are. Oh, affiliation with the ApeCoin launch. Okay. BitClout, Ripple, Crypto.com, Immutable X. I wonder what they did. Probably securities. Probably thought it was a security. Talk to a girl. Yeah. Haley Welsh. Yeah. Hocked. Yeah, she got done as well. Which it wasn't. She probably got scammed by scammers. She probably got told, we can launch a coin for you. We can do it for you. You don't know how to launch a meme coin. Didn't know how to use pump.fun. And, some guys have, they've taxed her hard for that. And they probably pulled the liquidity. That was the rug pull. And then she got arrested for it. So, yeah, no, it's been dropped now. Helium. Didn't know Helium had a case on him. There's way more than you can even count. Right. I saw this post. I thought this one would be interesting. Yeah. After the recent price projects listed on Binance, only 3 are green, and they choose quantity over quality. Indeed, they do. So, if you're using a centralized exchange a lot, you're always going to see popping up, in on the main screen. There's a new crypto launching. Getting on the white list, and ICO and all of this sort of stuff. Be very careful. Yeah, look at all these projects. Yeah, and I've got to tell you, I know quite a lot of cryptos. Bearer, I recognise Bearer. That's only down 16% though. That's not bad. That's a minor in crypto. What else we got here? Trump coin down 77%. Yeah, AIXBT. So some of the Bio USDT. So some of these were like quite new launches. A lot of them, well, they're all new launches, but yeah. So obviously, I would not touch some of the ones that have gone down so much. You might think that they're a great deal because they've got so far to go up to the old all-time high or the launch high, but honestly, they can take forever to do that. There's not even sure that they're going to do it this cycle. Like I say, judge all these things on a case-by-case basis. You've done the fundamentals, you've done the homework, you've done the due diligence. Then totally, that's your shout. That's your shout. I try to stay away from new launches in a bull market. I saw it a lot in 2021, and I believe that more mania phase is actually on its way. And I think a lot of the token launches that have been going on lately have been going on because they thought it was going to be the time of the alt season. This springtime, a lot of people were looking at the January correction, thinking once we get this January correction out of the way, we're good. We're going banana zone, all of that. And that hasn't happened. But a lot of these projects have planned their launches, they've planned their marketing campaigns. And, it's... So they had to go. They had to launch, and they've done it at the wrong time, and that's why you're seeing these such huge drawdowns on new projects. New project launches can tend to dump anyway. If I was looking at a new launch on Binance or anything really, if I know like a new project is launching a coin, and I'm really interested in the fundamentals of it, what I'll do is I'll just save it on my watch list, watch it over the coming weeks. And yeah, you could miss the initial pump and run up and everything, but honestly, like so many of the pump and dumps. I mean, whether they're meme coins or not, whether they're fundamentally like legit projects, apparently legit projects, you know, um, it's a risky business. It's a risky business. You're better off waiting to see at least a 50-60% drawdown, um, and then start looking at it like forming some sort of accumulation, like a reaccumulation, or something like that. Because like just buying into candles going, or you know, you could be jumping on at the end of the party, or you could be catching a falling knife, to be honest. So you want to avoid that. So touched on this a bit earlier on. Global liquidity. Yeah, Raoul Pal. I always have to mention his name. He really opened my eyes to the global M2 stuff. Really interesting, and I really hope that plays out because, well, one, it's good for our bags, and we're all working for our bags, and number two, it's just interesting to see if that's what's going to drive things. You know, because people say the interest rates are too high, inflation's too high for us to see really bullish conditions. But there's other factors at play, and that's countries have to print money. They've got to service their debts, you know. So yeah, I mean, there's no reason why this can't all go ahead. So yeah, this is a different M2 liquidity chart from what I've seen. Oh, this is the global liquidity up here. Oh, this is the year-on-year percentages. Okay, down there. Okay, I'll get that. So yeah, look, it's just saying that M2 is breaking out for a new high, and it seems to work out. But this is a long time frame to look at. I mean, this is like going back all the way back to 2012. So just focus what's going on up here. We've had the pullback in M2. Now we've had the pullback in Bitcoin. It should go up. Had the pullback, had the bear market, had the M2 bottomed, started working its way out, then Bitcoin started working its way up. It's quite easy to see that could happen. So let's keep our fingers crossed for that. And another M2 shot. So yeah, again, as you can see, M2 bottomed out. So could Bitcoin do another low just to make that? See this W. I like W's, by the way. Double bottoms, whatever you want to call them, W's. If they're at the other end of the chart, M's, yeah. And then you also get the other versions of that, which is the inverse head and shoulders, Adam and Eve, whatever. All of these different pattern names you can think of, and they're just accumulation or distribution at the end of the day. So I always find this interesting. Inflation is stabilizing. So this is the Truflation US Inflation Index. And, it was coming down heavily, yeah, in March. And I believe the data, this is forward-looking data, pretty much. It's looking at, parts of what forms the inflation data or CPI data. Like it's looking at it more ahead of time, looking at more live data, looking at data that maybe the Fed doesn't always include, and it just builds up this model where it's actually showing that inflation is dropping faster than what the Fed are saying. Therefore, if it's at 1.49%, yeah, I think the last reading we had the CPI was like 2.7 or something like that. Or was it this? The BLS reported rate 2.4. I think it was somewhere like that. It was like higher 2.5 to 2.8. We've been sitting around those levels for inflation. But Truflation now, it's getting down to like the 1.49 level. So here it says inflation is stabilizing. The BLS CPI is expected to report a decline in inflation in April. May 13, we will share our estimate soon. The market estimates a 75% chance for rate cut in June 18. So, we've got rate, how much will the Fed cut and when will they cut? How quickly will they cut? How hard will they cut? This is all going to impact the markets over the coming months, you know. And then just hopefully the tariff stuff is starting to mellow out a little bit and just calm down a little bit, because I think it's like the market was looking for like a Great Depression style crash in the market, a panic, a Black Monday, and all of that. And it weren't no Black Monday, was it? Jim Cramer was calling the Black Monday, and then the day ended up it ended up in the green. I mean, like slightly in the green, but in the green that day last week. Here we go. Historical volatility, local lows. Bitcoin has moved up from depression to boredom and indifference. Historical volatility has dropped to extreme lows on the fourth time this cycle. Every time this has ever been seen has been bullish. There's also two pieces of evidence here to suggest that the entire bull run is still on the table, and I believe it is too. I believe we're earlier than what everyone thinks. Everyone thinks everything's starting late. Well, it's later than last time, maybe, but it ain't particularly late, and there's still room for a lot of gains in this cycle. I mean, look, the sooner it happens, maybe the better, but maybe a strong slow uptrend, it could be like really, really good for us, you know. Something like 2017, actually, in fact. So look, here it was. This is the volatility local lows. So, you know, September 2015, March 2016, December 2016, and then just rocketed off. Yeah, price rocketed off as well. And then look, it did it once in August 2020, hit this lows in this green area. That's what he's looking at. He's looking at these taps down. And then I'm not even sure what makes up this indicator. Could be a combination of RSIs and, you know, other means. But just showing that when when this indicator dips into the green, you know, the volatility is low. Yeah. And then we get a move up. And look, we've had four stabs at this area, you know, in recent, like in the past couple of years, and you know that's more than most other cycles have had. Like you had three here, yeah, and you know maybe this is time to head up after this, you know. So on to one of my favourite analysts, Julian Bittle, also from Real Vision. According to the latest US Investors Intelligence Survey published last Tuesday, bullish sentiment is now sitting at just 23.6%, lowest reading since December 2008. Let's have a look at this. Look at these readings. So look, the way you want to look at is where these readings are tapping the bottom. You know, look, that's obviously like around 19, probably 88, 89, probably after the 87 crash. Heading to a bear market bottom. You've got probably 94 market bottom there. And this here, 2008, yeah, 2016, for the 2017 run, and 2020 hit low as well, but it didn't quite come down as far for COVID, you know. And look at 2025. Look at that. I mean, well, look, we've got 2020. Let's say that's 2022, the bottom of the bear market there. This is the S&P 500, by the way, just in case you was wondering. And look, here we are now. That's a buying opportunity. This, if you want to use this chart for something, it's a buying indicator. Yeah, if you bought at any of these moments in history, you'd have made money months later, a lot of money. So that's a really interesting one to watch, that one. And then here he is, Raoul Pal, the M2. I know I've showed you probably like 3 charts like on M2 lately, but it's one of the biggest talking points within the markets at the moment. And that is one thing actually that concerns me a little bit, is that too many people are watching it now. It was a bit like you know, what's his name? Plan B with what was that chart called? Plan B chart. Can't think of it right now. But yeah, it was just something. Was it something model or yeah? But everyone was watching that. Thought it was going to follow that line. You know, yeah, and it just strayed away from it. 2021's bull market did not go high as we thought it was going to go. How many people, as many people thought it was going to go, but that model, it was called something model, and I can't think what it's called right now. We'll move on from there. Okay, so here we go. Look at these. This is one of the charts from Into the Cryptoverse, Ben Cowan's platform, and this is the BTC market cycle bottom return on investment. The return on investment from the last market cycle bottom, yeah, to peak, and you can see how similar it's tracking. So I've actually cut out because I had cycle 1 and cycle 2 there. Yeah, cycle 1's like 20. Was it 2011? Yeah, and then you got cycle 2, which is like 2013. And I mean, you could leave it on there, but it it would have been topping. It topped already by now in that cycle, and it had shot up a lot faster, a lot quicker than any of these ones where we are now. So look, we're now running behind 2021. Yeah, we're running behind 2017. Yeah, this is out of the more recent cycles. This is potentially going to be one of the longest cycles because if you look at it here, I mean, look, 2017 was almost bang on to the same length of time as 2017, although 2017 had a more parabolic run up towards the end. And I'm not saying that this cycle could have a more parabolic run up or a less parabolic run up. I mean, you can talk about diminishing returns, like because Bitcoin's returns in percentage gains is always diminished or reduced in each cycle, where things become less volatile, the asset matures, and yeah, so who knows what it's going to do? We don't know what this squiggly line, this pink one's going to turn out to look like later on. But what I'll just say is like up until like literally, like so we're roughly how many days into the cycle now? We are roughly 800 and nearly 900 days into the cycle. So that means you've got like, if the cycles are like 1,450 days or whatever, because that's how long it usually is from bottom to bottom, by the way, for each market cycle. If that's where we are now, then, given we've got that many days left, this could do literally anything. But it's nice to see it was tracking along quite nicely there. It's not as volatile as some of the other cycles. It concern you could look at it and go, well, look, that's drifting down in a downtrend now. By this point, all the other cycles were in more of an uptrend. But yes, every cycle is different. Don't ever think that any cycle is going to be the same. It's always going to be different. Things will rhyme, but they don't always repeat. I'm going to scan through some more charts now from Into the Cryptoverse. This is the new YouTube views. So I'm just going to have a bit of water. 1 second. A quick blast of that. Thank you for waiting. So as you can see, this is the new YouTube views. So you're looking at all these analysts here, from Alex Becker, Crypto Banter, Ivan on Tech, Lady of Crypto, Wolf of Wall Street. You've got everyone here. You've got Altcoin Daily, you've got Jason Casino, Tom Crown, Plan B, Bankless Podcast, Coin Bureau. Everyone's there. So they all mold together to form these waves. Yeah, their view counts. And as we saw in 2021, got the double peaks along with the peaks of the cycle. Yeah. Now, you saw we did get a bit of a climb up back here in January. Well, probably December. No, since the elections, really. So after the elections, it went up considerably. But it didn't get anywhere near where it was before. And if you think like how many people are on YouTube these days, or how many people have got a YouTube account, and so there's more, and a lot of these guys have got more followers. Like a lot of these analysts here and YouTubers, they've got way more followers than they had back in 2021, but yet the view count is down massively. But what I would say is a bullish sign is that we did get an uplift, and then prices corrected, and so has the view count. You know, so I don't think it's anything to be concerned about. I mean, yeah, you could have said, "Oh, well, that's heading down. Maybe things are getting not too, things are not looking good. Let's like take some profits, take some risk off the table and all of that." And I'd say you're right to do that. I mean, we did get a little spike here, which was around the tariff uncertainty. I think so. Sometimes you get a high on this when the market is uncertain as well. So really, you're thinking, oh, this is going up when everyone's bullish, but no, it's going up when it's been bullish. It's climbed up while it's bullish, and then as things are starting to turn, you see the view count go through the roof because people are worried. This is not people like going, what shall I buy? This is people going, should I sell? I think a lot of the time. And you did get a bit of that there. Yeah. People were like, oh, Bitcoin's at 100K, Bitcoin's at 110K. Is it over? Is it over? And the market needs to calm down, reset itself, and then it can go again. Similar thing for YouTube subscribers. Yeah. It didn't really get too high. I mean, look, these subscribers, I'd say, is quite a bullish thing usually. You can see it got there, but I mean, the highest points were at the tops. Where this one was where it was dropping. That was a capitulation there. That was that was May 2021. I remember that day. I was at work, and I've got a friend who likes crypto as well at work, and I saw him come walking in my door, and he went, "Seen the charts?" I'm like, "Yeah." Did manage to offload a bit on that dump and actually get by and reaccumulate back here, down here, and then saw some significant gains up there. Took some profits, didn't take enough profits. Then it started getting down to here, and then or was it here somewhere like that? And I'm like thinking, is this the bottom? So I'm DCAing, I'm DCAing, I'm DCAing. I bought every dip until the dip stopped coming. Bull market support band. We've dropped below it. But this happened also in 2024. Yeah, where we had that correction lasting around 7 months. So you're just looking at, if I can zoom in a bit more, you see the green line dipping below the red, and then swooping back up again. It happened here as well. Is that going to happen? Nothing's guaranteed. But I'd say due to the amount of fear we received during that time, and that's why I bring you onto this chart now. So we've had a double dip into fear, yeah, on this correction, yeah, extreme fear, in fact. So we've had extreme fear down to 10. I remember buying that day thinking that was maybe that was the low. Got a bounce, but then we've come back down. We made a lower low on price, but a higher low on fear, which I'd say is a bit of a divergence. You can see that happened here. See, you had fear peaking, yeah. Then you had price make a lower low, fear make a higher low. And there's a number of times you can see this in the chart as well. So, the RSI. So I would say with that fear and greed index, it's showing almost like a divergence. So maybe this is showing a divergence too. The RSI. This is on the daily RSI, yeah. So, you know, when it taps into this green level as well, can be quite good buyers. Quite good buyers. Yeah, yeah. Look at them, like that's right there. What a dip. You know, some of these lows, not even in the green zone, are good buying opportunities. You know, sometimes the RSI doesn't go quite as oversold as the price, and then yeah. So if you look here, RSI made a low, and then we've had a lower low in price, but a higher low on the RSI. That's divergence. So this is another chart that I love to look at. This is the MVRZ score, the market to realized value Z score. This has been great at calling tops. Really good at calling tops. Look at these peaks. That was 2013. Yeah. And then you've got 2017. Yeah, right at the end. Then you've got 2021. Didn't call a second top. Well, it's got a higher, so it could call local tops like that. But some of these cycle tops are getting up nearer to this above the 6 reading. Yeah, every cycle so far has gotten above the 6 reading. We're nowhere near it. We've got up to like 3.5, like half the score of other cycles. And what I'd say is, I feel like it's more like here. So you've got a low, you've got a low at the bottom of the market, and then you've got higher lows. Yeah, got the low, got higher lows, got the low, got higher lows, and this is it. You've got the low, you've got higher lows. So if this could turn around and start heading back up, it's going to be a really bullish indicator to keep an eye on. High cycle top, nowhere near to calling the top, was it? I don't know if you know this one, but this one is probably one of the most famous Bitcoin market top indicators. And see where it's got these lines, that's where it's called tops before. And how it calls tops, so I'll zoom in on this so you can see. It basically, when the green line crosses the red, or the red crosses above the green, that's when it calls the top. Did the red come across above the green and it called the top? Yeah. And it didn't call that second top. Even though that was an all-time high for the last cycle, it didn't call that as a top. And look, it's not got anywhere near. I just feel like we're like doing something like here, you know. It's not, the lines have not got close together. I feel like we're just here still, you know. That's what you can get from it. I mean, look, I mean, unless you're saying Bitcoin's done for this cycle, you know, the macro tailwinds become too much, you know, and the FUD has just become too much, or there's too much inflation and we're going into a recession. Unless you're thinking about all of those things too much, then it just looks absolutely fine. Looks fine. Just looks like everything's going a little bit slower than before. So, but that's just because things are taking time. That's not to be anything to be concerned about. You know, time in the market is better than time in the market. I'll get on to some charts now. I had noticed that Radium had a good run today. Charts playing up. Typical. Let's see if I can move on to another one. Deep Book was having a good run. Has it broken the downtrend? Have a look. Whack that there if you want. Yeah. Yeah, it looks like it's trying to break out. I'd like to see it get over the 50 EMA. Break this trend, retest, get above this 50. So you could be looking at like another a week or so to confirm this. You know, and like I say, like I said with Bitcoin earlier, a lot of these downtrends that are sort of, we're at resistance of the downtrend right now. I would not be surprised to see it come back down, make a higher low, then give it another go, then break through, then retest, then move higher. And that's what you have to be patient for and wait for when it comes to market reversals. These things take a long time to play out. And you know what? As soon as this happens, yeah, as soon as you get a nice little push up, that's when everyone, all the degens are getting really over bullish. They're like, oh yeah, we're back. No. You got to wait. You got to be patient. Yeah. I would say what you could do with those sort of signals, where you see all the YouTubers like thumbnails all start turning green. You see everyone in the comments starting to be friendly to each other once again, and talking about what coins they're going to buy and invest in. Best thing to do is just wait for the reversal to take place. Wait for it to come back down, hold strong at a level. Then you can start to see a reversal pattern kicking in. And when you see that with all the bullish sentiment starting to creep back, it doesn't come back too quickly. You don't want it to come back too quickly, because as soon as that comes through and the greed starts coming back, and as soon as the greed's coming back, then you know it's going to sort of maybe perhaps stunt the run a little bit, because everyone got too excited too quick and they got too over leveraged. And then the main thing that's driving these markets, these charts on lower time frames, is liquidations. The exchanges want to make their money, the market makers want to make their money. It's their business model to go after the the stops and the liquidation points. So, and that, like I say, another good thing to do when you are playing these markets, when you're looking for a time to buy. If you're an investor and you're looking at just like buying a coin and holding it, buying a day where you've had like $1 billion in liquidations and everyone's panicking and stuff, they're the best days to buy. So this would have had a big move up earlier. It was up. So this is the USA meme coin. So I'm just touching on a few coins that I saw that were good gainers today, and just having a look at what's going on there. So this is USA coin, American coin, and I noticed this started rallying again the other day after I can't think what it was, the Liberation Day. So yeah, it's had a bit of a spike up, but this is like, it's just taken such a battering. But just good to see on the higher time frame, that it hasn't come quite down here. It means that the bulls are still holding on, and there's potential for it. Let's go back to Bitcoin, and this is one of my charts that I like because it's diagonal levels that I can see in the chart, and I can see that although you wouldn't want to trade based on this being support or resistance, you can see that the price likes to magnetate towards these levels. I mean, these levels, I'll show you, look how far some of these lines go back. Yeah, they go back to, and they're not perfect. Some of these lines, they're not perfect. It's just giving you a general idea, and I get that from like reading about W.D. Gann. He talks about the diagonal lines, the angles, and everything like that, and you can really see it. And I know people could say, "Oh, it's a logarithmic chart and everything like that," but how the price just goes up, drops down a level, goes to the bottom of the level. It might slip through to the next level, then it comes back into that level, then it touches the top, then it touches the bottom, then it breaks through, it touches the top, back up level with this line, which goes back to 2017. And then it drops through, drops down, ranges in the range very tightly, and that range was the same range it was here, and that range was the same it was over here. And you can see these levels getting drop, and then you can see then when the market starts to turn again, it starts to head up again. You start to see it reclaim the levels and ranging them again. So it ranged here, it dropped down, then it come back, it ranged there again, and it dropped up, popped up, and it's ranging in this range again. Yeah, it's gone sideways. It's dropped down. It's back down in this range again. But it's basically loads of diagonal ranges. And the price just magnetates. It's magnetized to these levels. And like I say, it doesn't mean they're going to hold. Look, sometimes it actually tests them perfectly to the wick. And it'll be a level that it's touched to the wick. Look, back here, back here. These. it's quite phenomenal, really. But I'm not going to try and explain why it happens like that. But whether it's like self-fulfilling prophecies and all of that, who knows? But yeah, I mean, look, here we are now, though. So this range, we was playing with this line. I was watching this. I was thinking, should I have drawn that line different? But look, no, this line was right here. This line was right here. Yeah. And here, the price was messing us around this line. I was like, are we above it? We're below it. We're back above it. We're back below it. And then we're like, oh, okay. We're heading down to here. And I thought, maybe we're going to hold there now. We're going to hold there. No, we dropped through. But we have held here. And look how close it was. Bang on to the wick. Yeah. And it's a line we've drawn a wick on before. So look, we've had this range. We've dealt with this range. We've dipped back into it a couple of times. Now we've dipped back towards it again. And, we've got the 50 there. We're holding above the 50-week EMA. And, like I say, when you see corrections like this in a bull market, do not fear, because, you have to sit through things like this. Yeah. Like these, all of these. Yeah, some of them, Bitcoin was like a less mature asset. It was a newer asset, less liquidity, and, the more wild swings, shorter, faster swings, and then now it's a mature asset, longer, wider, deeper swings. Yeah. Doesn't mean it's over. Like this is a chart, just shows some of the things that we've had to deal with in recent times. So we've got the US elections. Yeah, price moved up. Yeah, we've got the Trump inauguration, which was pretty much the top, which is somewhere around here. Was it the 20th of no, Trump inauguration was here. That was the top. Yeah. And then, above CPI reading, that sent us down. Tariff panics, initial panics sent us down. And then we've been working our way down to the decision day, which was last week, which was the tariff liberation day, which is when we got our panic crash at the weekend. Sorry, I need another drink. Trying to get croaky. I haven't spoken on a YouTube video for this long before. So I need to stop. Maybe I need to do some voice exercises. Maybe I need to laugh the vape. So, yeah, we've had the tariff liberation day panic crash, followed by a lower inflation read, which has set us up. The panic, the crash was the bottom. Yeah, people thought we was going to get the Black Monday, but no, it didn't happen. Prices started heading up after that. So, the crash had already happened before the Black Monday. There was no Black Monday. Like I say, back at this chart we was at earlier on this evening. And yeah, just waiting for this breakout. See, I've got my little banana up there, ready for the banana zone. And now this is a total free. Yeah. Everything excluding Bitcoin and ETH. Yeah, it's what makes a total free. And here you see I've plotted out like the emotions of the Wall Street cheat sheet. So, coming out of the last cycle, you've got depression. Yeah, you've got the panic, you've got the anger, the capitulation, the depression, disbelief. We're rolling now. Hope, can we get to the old all-time highs again? Optimism, basically when you're about to reach the all-time high zone from the previous cycle, you've broken out, you've made new highs, you're in price discovery. That's belief. Yeah. Thrill, when you're well ahead into price discovery. Then you get a correction, yeah. Then euphoria. Euphoria is right at the top. Then as price starts working down, people start to become complacent. Then, price is rising up but failing to break higher. Then you've got your anxiety. And then you've got denial as price is dropping down. As price drops faster into it, people start to panic. And then people really start to capitulate. Then you grind down into the anger phase. I remember the anger phase of this time, actually. It was around a friend's birthday. And we was just like, damn it, like it's dumped on your birthday. It's never felt worse in crypto than at that point. And I would say that was anger. Then, we went through this time where just price action was just so dull and boring, and you thought, oh, we're going to go higher, we're going to go higher. And then we go back down to the lows again with all of our altcoin bags getting absolutely destroyed. Yeah, great times they were. And then, then we start to climb back up again. And then there's a bit of disbelief. It's like, is this a fool's rally? Are we really going up? Is that the bear market over with? And then we start to pump. That was like March 2024. That was a good rally for altcoins there. And this is where I started to notice, Total Free was getting in this channel here, and whether it holds on to it or not, I do not know. But it's interesting to watch. So forget about this. Then you've got moving up. So now we're getting optimistic again. Yeah. And I think this is a stage that most people's altcoin bags got to. We had some altcoins making new all-time highs barely. You had some new projects having really good rallies. That's undeniable. You had obviously meme coins doing really well, some of them, but majority of people's bags didn't break out all-time high so far in this cycle. And then, you would have expected it to maybe reach there, come down, then, maybe it was going to be late Jan, early Feb, we're going to start seeing a breakout into the belief phase. And then we would have got another correction, and it would have gone into the thrill run, and another correction in euphoria. But look where we are. We've actually corrected hard here from optimism. It's going to take us a while to get back up to optimism and then break out. This could be by May, I'm thinking. Depends how fast we move up. I mean, sometimes in bull runs, you have these deep corrections, and then the move out from them is just very, very fast. Like I say, you could get up to the old high again, then you get a correction, then you push out finally. And, how big is this expansion is going to be? Yeah, that's to anyone's guess. Total Free versus Bitcoin. Yeah. So this is the altcoins versus Bitcoin. And, it's held this line for like the past, since 2018. Yeah. I say held it, but, January 2021 took a bit of a dump. December 2020. Just before alt season started. So this was just before alt season started. This was just before alt season started. Is this just before alt season getting started? I mean, look at that long downtrend. It's been bleeding out. And, you'd like to hope we could go. And this is a chart that shows others versus BTC. So this is everything excluding the top 10. Yeah. And it just shows the periods of trends that it can be stuck in, and a lot of these were like this from here to here was 420 days, this from here was 490 days, this from here was 462 days, this from here was 500 in 11 days, this from here was 385, this from here was 511. This one's been quite a long spell. It's been painful. You're still here. You're still holding your bags. Big up. Yeah, it's been a slog. But like I say, when you combine this with Bitcoin dominance that are higher, yeah, post-election, higher. Post-election, higher. Yeah. Post-election, it was higher, it's up there. But let's really just go through the last cycle, really, the last cycle or two, because where you've got these lows here around this, the 40 and minus 40 zone. That's the area that where if Bitcoin was to get down there, Bitcoin dominance was about to get down there, you'd want to be taking profits on a lot of your altcoins because it could be the alt season over. And like I say, that is when a crypto cycle ends, is when Bitcoin dominance bottoms, because people will rush back to Bitcoin. People will want to hold no other coins except for Bitcoin and their stable coins. And that's what it looks like at the end of a cycle. You get the run up, the mania phase, the euphoria, and people get euphoric because they're making sick gains on lower cap assets. It's not going to be because everyone's euphoric because Bitcoin's at 130k. No, it's going to be euphoric because like altcoin projects are doing 10, 20x's, and meme coins are doing 100x's, and low cap projects doing 100x's, and all of this sort of stuff. And all right, maybe not 100x's, but what I'm trying to say is that euphoric moment of a bull cycle is when people are making a lot of money. People have made a lot of money, and there's people losing money as well. But it doesn't end with Bitcoin dominance at a high. Yeah, this has got to work its way down. Whether it goes up to 70, 73, I mean, it could do. I would say if it did, it's going to do it quick. This is going to go parabolic. If it's going to do it, it's going to go literally parabolic anytime soon. But it hasn't taken out this wick yet, which it looks like it's struggling to do on a weekly. Bring it over onto the daily. Sorry, my charts are freezing when I'm doing the daily chart for some reason. We'll move on from that one anyway. DXY is working its way down. Yeah, it's getting down to the low now. And I've been saying for a long time, I believe I could see this getting down to like 96. Yeah, 96 maybe. Because this trend's an old trend, yeah? Going back here, going back. I showed on the other video the other night. And this is USDT dominance, sorry. And you've got a downtrend here, and it looks like it's faked out. It looks like it faked out. It looked like it was going to break out, and I think people are watching that. And it's that horizontal level though, and it hasn't managed to get past it. And look, it's falling back in. Will it could still get back up and out of there? Could do, by all means. But yeah, I mean, I think if everything's lining up, if Bitcoin dominance has topped, and things like ETH BTC have bottomed, and if the Fed are going to be cutting interest rates, and the ISM is going to be moving up, and the M2's moving up, and it just, if everything all just comes together, then USDT dominance will also find its way down. And whether it holds down here again in this because it's held this zone very well. But I mean, look at this. This is on a weekly chart. This could take 10, 12, 15, 20 weeks to get down there. How many weeks is that till sort of? I mark off end of November on a lot of my charts as maybe a potential like time for a top of the market. I'm not saying that I like 100% believe that that's going to happen. I'm not, I'm not certain, but there is a lot of times where market cycles have peaked end of November / early December. Yeah, so that's still 200 odd days away. 230 days, like best part of a year. It's more than half a year. It's 2/3 of a year to go. Maybe so that's entirely possible. I think we're coming towards the end now, guys. But look, if you have tuned in, thank you for riding through with this one for me. Like I say, new to YouTube. I've been talking probably now for the longest I've ever spoke on a camera before. So getting used to it. And yeah, just like, subscribe, follow me for more content. I'm going to be putting out a lot more videos over the coming year. I've got a lot more things to talk about. When I find my way of how to sort of get those points across, we'll be talking about my portfolio. We'll be talking about long-term investment strategy, psychology, and just crypto fundamentals. Many, many things. So yeah, we're going to talk about a lot. And yeah, hope you can join us. So don't forget, like, subscribe, hit the bell button for notifications. And yeah, I'll see you on the next video. Thanks.